JDL USA presents Rabbi Nachum Shifren, Torah scholar, author, public speaker, and good friend of the late Rabbi Meir Kahana.
Well, once again, we are together. This is the JDL podcast. And as always, please do support the JDL. They need your help. They're a wonderful organization. They're doing a lot of work for little compensation. And we're very grateful to them. A big shout out for Natasha, Nachum, and her family and all the work that they do to bring these podcasts to you. So we are dealing with two topics today. One of them is the parsha, of course. Parsha YITRO, Jethro in English. Jethro sounds kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know if anybody remembers that. But YITRO, of course, was the Midianite prince. And we'll talk about him momentarily. And the other thing we want to talk about, of course, is more current, and it's dealing, of course, with the Iran situation. But I hope everybody had a good week. I hope everybody's doing good things in life, including learning Torah, including working at your job and being successful. And of course, everything that we need to do, we do with the help of God. And this is our task on this earth. So back to the parsha. Not even Moses has his name. I mean, Moses, the great prophet of the Jewish people, the greatest Jew on the face of the earth. Not one mention of him as in the name of a Torah portion. Whereas YITRO, a Midianite priest who claimed this infamous claim that he practiced every sort of idolatry on the earth. He looked for every titillation and every blandishment that he could find, and now he's come to the conclusion that there's nobody other than the God of Israel, the Creator of heaven and earth, who he will be servile to, and who he will worship. Moshe, at the very end of the parsha of this week's Torah portion, he pleads with YITRO. By the way, Moshe, as many of you know, married YITRO's daughter, right? So YITRO was Moshe's father-in-law. That's a heck of a combination. They both had a lot of respect for each other. Moshe would not do anything. He would not leave without the permission of his father-in-law. It shows you the great respect that he gave. And of course, YITRO was fundamental in suggesting to Moses a way of judging the people when the people had issues. It's like going to a small claims court, and then you go to a different court, and you go to a higher one, to a Supreme Court perhaps, or whatever it is. There's a whole protocol there that's mentioned in the Torah, and YITRO was completely involved in that. It was a very good thing. He taught Moses a few things about judging and adjudicating issues that come up, the small ones as well as the large ones. YITRO, I don't know if, I'm not sure, to me, the Torah explains clearly that YITRO was the key to the giving of the Torah. We hear the Torah now on this week's parsha on Mount Sinai. It was given, of course, the Ten Commandments. And without YITRO, there would have been no Ten Commandments. There would not have been a Torah. Perhaps no Mount Sinai. Why? It says in different books, in Kabbalistic works, in Hasidut literature, that YITRO was the key. He was the pioneer for letting the goodness in the world happen in a way that it would break the back, as it were, of all forms of idolatry, negativity, of lawlessness, promiscuity, all those things. YITRO was the pioneer in that effort. And we needed in YITRO to create an environment in which God could give the Torah here on earth. And he was the man that enabled it. How did that happen? When YITRO announced that he worshipped every form of idolatry, and he completely is against them all at this point. He basically, there's a halacha that a a non-Jew must eradicate or nullify the form of idolatry being dealt with. A Jew can't do that. It needs to be somebody else. Why? Because when they do it, it's real. It's something they have been involved in it. They've been up to their navels in it their whole life. And then they realize that God is really the creator of heaven and earth and not the idol or the statue or whatever that they had been bowing down to previously. So this is the whole great thing about YITRO. He was fundamental in proving that God indeed, the creator of heaven and earth, was also somebody that demanded a faithful relationship, meaning no ungodly things, no idolatry, and that sort of thing. So that was the wonderful thing about YITRO. And it's just amazing when we look at it. Here's a guy who was the king of the Midianite nation. He had everything going for him: money, fame, wealth, and of course, with his idolatry and all that to go with it. And he gave up everything. He gave it up. He was wealthy, and now he's subsistence. And when Moshe tells YITRO, listen, you've been an amazing inspiration for us. Why don't you come and be with us, join the Jewish people? And he said, no. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to my people. And Rashi, our commentator on the Torah, tells us he did so in order to proselytize, as it were, tell the people to put away their idols and come closer to God. An amazing thing. This is something that we celebrate and we admire and we cherish the memory of YITRO. So that's that. A very emotional thing, a very incredible, toward the end there when Moses is trying to plead with YITRO to come with him and be with their family, be with his daughter. And YITRO, no, he's going to forego all that and dedicate himself toward, as it were, righting the wrongs of his life in a way. He spent his life in a lascivious, ungodly manner. And now he's going to go make up for it and tell people what he witnessed: the crossing of the Red Sea, the manna from heaven, all the things that occurred in a miraculous nature in the Sinai desert, the well of Miriam, and etc. So he is truly a pioneer and somebody of great inspirational quality. Many people have wondered what's going to happen with the Middle East and this and that, and people are in bomb shelters. There's a couple of ways of looking at it. They say there's 70 faces of the Torah. We can analyze different things. This is not from the Torah, but in a revelationary way and in a messianic way, there are things that refer to Egypt, and at least, and then also Persia, where the Iranians are at now. What we have right now is the cleanup act by the Israeli army. They've got their work cut out for them. The Iranians have thousands of these ballistic missiles that can go all over the world, but their days are numbered. There will be a time shortly, in the next day or two, I predict, when Israel has no choice, right? I've talked to many people about this, and as a Jew, people ask me, well, what do you think about Iran, and what do you think about the U.S. getting involved? And we were told that there'd be no ground war, and we'd have no soldiers marching off to a distant land, fighting, etc. That's not going to happen. Israel has got a tremendous intelligence in Iran. There's an old joke, said they should have started a kosher restaurant in Tehran with all the Israeli Secret Service people there. But this is something that is very troubling to me. These people are Nazis there. They're absolutely murderers, and yet they've been able to get away with their shtick. And the world has been, they're okay with 40,000 people being murdered, butchered, shot in the head, shot in the back, mortuaries filled with the murder. Now, they're not Jews, right? They're Persians, Iranians. And yet the world is now waking up and seeing the evil deeds that these imams are doing. Now, I had a solution. If these radical imams and radical Republican guards are so eager to, die for Allah, as it were, well, why don't they just form a single file line, and we can take care of them so they can go up to get their 70 virgins. Why go through a whole world war on this? Well, that's their whole thing. They're evil people, and this is what they do. But the world, again, is very, they're tiptoeing around this, and very strange how they do it, how they justify it. Here at home, we have a cadre of leftist apologists for all kinds of reasons of why the U.S. shouldn't be involved. But we saw this before in World War II in 1939, 1938 with Neville Chamberlain. Remember, the Brit who was conversing with Hitler about not being such a bad guy, right? And he came back with peace in our time, right? When you're dealing with a murderous thug, there's no amount of negotiations that are going to work. I think that it seems like Trump is going to. Trump is a master manipulator, a brilliant guy in his own way. There's no question that he's going to drop the hammer on these guys. The question is, what will the scope of their operation be? And the thing about it is that we've done this before with Iraq, with Tripoli, Libya, and we end up getting worse than we had from before, right? So one imam is replaced by another mamzer who is just as bad, if not worse. This is how it goes. It's like musical chairs there. But what can Israel learn from all this? I think that what happened to Israel and the amount of the billions that they spent in defense against the Houthis, against the Hamas, against the Hezbollah, and against everybody else, and that the fact that the northern settlements were bombed and relentlessly savaged by these animals to the point where the agriculture in Israel really got hit bad. So I was thinking to myself, maybe you agree with me, what they need to do is kidnap some of these imams, these mullahs, like, for example, the head of the snake himself, kidnap them, bring them to Israel and say, you know what? We need you guys to compensate all the farmers in northern Israel who lost their homes, lost their crops, and you need to compensate all the families who you guys helped butcher, decapitate, rape, sodomize, whatever you did. I don't see that happening. And it is so egregious that these guys got away with all this. Israel, who knows where they're getting all the money for their arms and their bombs and whatnot, obviously from America. What would be the price? These are some of my thoughts. Somebody connected with the Jewish Defense League would have a certain way of looking at these things. I do as well. Maybe it's different from others, but I see it as though it's a war and they lost. They need to come up and compensate all the Jewish people who lost their lives and their property and their farms and whatnot, all the time spent in bunkers and in underground facilities where they lost productivity on their agriculture and whatnot. I see this as just, it's real simple. You come up with the money that you ripped off from us. And I don't know why the state of Israel is not doing that. We can only wonder why. And whatever happened to the investigation of the October 7th incident? Anybody hear anything about that? No. We're still waiting for the observations on the Yom Kippur War, right? And who dropped the ball and who needs to be punished. We'll never hear anything about that. So it is with the state of Israel and the situation. And let us never forget that there's no state of Israel. There's the land of Israel that was given to us by the God of creator of heaven and earth. And we don't need to apologize for it. We don't need to justify what we're doing. If it wasn't for the state of Israel, there would be no earth. The whole reason for the revelation of God in this world is to establish his kingdom in which his servants are doing his will. What is his will? The Torah. So that's the very brief overview. And on that note, I wish everybody a good Shabbos and good Shavuot Tov. And let us hear good news. I think in the next few days, we're going to hear some very good news. It's about time that evil was taken to task, don't you think? Evil, as long as evil is in this world, Hashem's revelation can't be in this world. When evil is destroyed, then there's rejoice among the world, among the nations. That is a quote from the Talmud. God bless everybody. Have a wonderful week, and we'll be in touch. Don't forget, JDL needs your help. They need your support. They need your financial support as well. And God bless everybody. You take care.